Good afternoon. All right, no one juice today. That's fine. All right. Look, excited to get back on the practice field. Talked about Monday really being about NEP and handling things that have shown up over the past 3 weeks. Thought those guys went out there and did a good job correcting those mistakes. With the realization that there will be other things that pop up throughout the season. Now, excited really to turn the page on to San Fran. But before we get there, so we lost one of our captains in Bentley. He's done a great job for us, both on and off the field. A leader in the locker room, all that stuff. So we'll be putting Bentley on injured reserve later on today. Now, in saying that, I thought it was important and just go back and kind of talk about my experience. As you guys know, there were a few seasons there where I was hurt at the end. Well, more than one. All right. And so I was a captain 7 out of 8 years, but I remember getting hurt early in the season. And then coach approached me and said, "Hey, do you mind, bringing in another if we had another captain?" And I didn't. And so I had a conversation with Bentley, and the same thing with him, obviously not being in the building every single day right now as he goes through the rehab process. But I did ask him, I said, to me, it's important that we still have, leadership and representation for that side of the ball. And when we did the votes for captain, and once again, this is voted on by their peers, it was very close. It was very close. And happy to announce today a guy that, has done a tremendous job for us, has really shown a lot of growth on the field and off the field, and that's Kyle Duggar. And so Duggar is now a captain for us. Hold on, I wasn't finished my intro. No, I'm playing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Bentley, is there any hope he might return this season?
I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. I don't want to speculate on when he could return or can't return. I don't want to get into that. Thank you.
Rob, what has Kyle meant to you and this team?
It's meant a lot. His first year he came in, you knew he was a physical player, small school guy. And so first of all, that's always a surprise, and he can go either way. But what I will say is, look, he brings that mentality, that physicality that you want on your defense. And I would say, what was it, last year? Last year he had the green dot quite a bit, and I think 2 years ago he had the green dot quite a bit as well. But he's able to handle the communication, the adjustments, and he's able to get guys lined up. And when I talk about growth with Kyle, like his first couple of years, and understanding as a rookie, you don't really say too much. But the first couple of years, it was more like he just would go out there and perform at a high level, but really didn't have much to do with the communication and stuff like that and the development of his teammates. And I would say here over the last few years, he's done a tremendous job mentoring those young guys. And even the older guys. I had a conversation with Peppers today, and he talked about how important it was for him to learn from Duggar and Devin. And, that just talks about his leadership style. And, it's a little different. It's mostly through, just the way he approaches the game. But I would say here, as of late, the last, this year and last year, he's been more vocal, which I definitely appreciate. And everyone doesn't always feel comfortable doing that, but he's been doing that.
Is Juwan Bentley still going to be around a lot after his surgery and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I told Bent, once again, going through that experience, it really helped me, and it stinks. It really does stink to have to go on IR, but you can still be a productive teammate. And so even when I got hurt, I think you guys know the story of, I started learning how to break down film and do all those things. And I look back on it almost as a blessing, but when you're on IR, you're in the storm. It's kind of hard to see what God has planned for you. And those 3 years that I ended up on IR definitely helped me in my transition to coaching. And I think it's important for a guy like Bentley to be around the team, his energy, his passion, all of those things. But also, he'll be on the sidelines because I think, from a player's perspective, they see a lot of things too, and to have another set of eyes and another motivator, another guy that can help get the track, get us on the right track, I think it's important. So as soon as he's able to travel and as soon as he's able to be on the sideline, I fully anticipate that happening.
Jerod, this may sound like a big leap, but is there any thoughts at Duggar taking some of Bentley's responsibilities in the inside and playing inside and where he won't be able to?
You're saying playing linebacker?
Yeah, like moving over.
Look, we're very flexible. He's done it before. Peppers has done it before. A guy not out there right now is Maye, which, it would be exciting to get him back out there. He's another candidate for that role you're kind of talking about. And saying that, Look, Jelani and Raekwon and those guys, they do a good job controlling the front. And I think having a guy like Duggar in the back end who has that communication with the linebackers, understands linebacker play, but also can disseminate the information, to the sides, to the corners, to the stars. I think it's more important for him to be there. He does rock down. Anytime a safety rocks, here's my nugget. Anytime a safety rocks down into the box, he's really a linebacker at that point. Right?
Jerod, for Sunday's game, go ahead.
Oh, see, there we go. That's nice.
Jerod, do you see any merit to the idea of adding a veteran quarterback to the roster just so you can have full control over when Drake plays as opposed to having your hand potentially forced by injury?
That's not in our plans at this current time.
For Sunday's game, what kind of challenge does this 49ers offense present, especially with some issues maybe with the personnel right now?
Yeah, it's a very unique offense, and I know everyone says it falls off the same tree, but all of these coaches, and you could throw, Mike McDaniel in the category, they all put their own twist on it. I would say with San Fran, you look at it, all three phases. Look, obviously their record's not really reflective of the team that they are and can be going forward. They're dealing with injuries as well. What I will say is the challenge for us is just in the front, offensive line and defensive line. And I don't want to sound repetitive, but those guys, they are a do what they do type of team. And like, we know what they're going to do. The fans know what they're going to do, but you still have to stop them. And they have a lot of good players on that team, offensively and defensively, like all pro caliber players almost at every level if you really look at the roster. So it's definitely a challenge. And I think the guys are, I tell them all the time, look at it as an opportunity to go out there and perform.
I know you view this as a defining moment in the offense. What do you guys want to get done offensively? Given Ramondre's value to the offense, what you guys want to get done offensively, how do you strike a balance between keeping him out there, wanting him to stay out there, and maybe having that conversation with him about the fumbles?
We always say that, ball security is job security. And we're all disappointed in really, 3 fumbles. And he understands that. And definitely a point of emphasis today. We'll go out there and practice in full pads. Those guys need to be hit, need to get hit. I would also say that I have confidence in that room as a whole, not just Ramondre. And, I think Gibby's done a good job. Hasty's ready to go. He prepares like a starter every week. But, we have to take care of the ball.
For years, but is there something that you can do with him? Is it just as easy as getting out there and getting past his hit, or is it a technique thing?
It's not really a technique thing. Well, I take that back. It is at times. Ramondre is probably top 5 in the league as far as like breaking tackles. Now that's a dual-edged sword. You always want these guys to break tackles and try to make these big explosive plays, but in doing that, sometimes the ball gets loose. And we always talk about double and trouble. Like if people are around you, put 2 hands on the football, and it sounds simple to say, but it is hard to do it sometimes, especially when you're trying to get extra yards.
This hasn't been the easiest start to the season for Jacoby Brissett. How has he done, inside the building, and how have you seen him sort of handle himself?
He's handled himself like a true professional. We had a captain's meeting today, and it wasn't like a big kumbaya type of meeting. It was more of a, let's continue to get better each and every week. And I think that was really the main goal, going into the season. Like I didn't know what our record would be at this time, but our goal was to get better every week. Now, obviously, it was a poor showing in New York, but we'll see what this team is made of going forward. We have a long trip out west, and got to be ready to play against a good, solid football team.
I know you describe them as a do-what-they-do type of team. When you look specifically at their offense with Kyle, what are the kind of chess match challenges for you, DeMarcus, the whole defensive staff to stay on top of them, because they dress up a lot of things?
That's right, and you just hit it on the head. It's a lot of window dressing, but the core concepts are pretty much still the same. Every single play, like you're going to see motion, and you're going to see exotic types of motions, and they're trying to get you to adjust a certain way. And just here you go. Here's another football tip, just in general, for the Pop Warner coaches, as they start to build formations, either you move the defensive line in front of you or the linebackers have to move. And some of that stuff is pre-snap, but don't forget about the post-snap movement as well. And so you have to be able to see the surfaces that they're trying to create.
So when you play linebacker at a very high level, what kind of unique challenge is it having a guy like Fred Warner who can, do pretty much everything at the position? It feels like you don't see elite linebackers very often.
Yeah, look, this guy he's one of the best in the league, and when you see him flying around out there, and he's a very good tackler. Those guys up front do a good job protecting them, allowing them to do those things. But I have nothing but the ultimate respect for a guy like Fred Warner. And I actually, when I first got into the league and started getting his scouting a little bit, I went back and watched some of his film in college just to see, like, what did everyone miss with this guy, because he is such a good player. But he can play in space as good as, a big nickel. He's a very good player. Physical, all those things.
I know you can't speculate on whether Christian Farmer will play again this season, but you've seen him around a bit. Are you able to say whether he's doing any physical activity or working out at all?
Well, look, he's going by doctor's orders. I would also say I think it's important for a guy like that to be in the building. One thing about the idle mind, you're just sitting at home all the time, like that's nothing but trouble. And, for a young player like that, this is an opportunity, kind of the same thing I spoke about earlier. This is an opportunity for him to learn about football as a whole and not just what a defensive tackle does. So in saying that, he has projects that he's working on, a bunch of those things, and he's also in charge of Friday Funny. And it's like a 30-second, 1-minute clip that just to get the guys laughing on Fridays. But he's doing a good job.
Jerod, to follow up on Nicole's question from a little bit earlier, is your willingness to stick with the quarterback or the way you have it right now, how much of that is due to what you've seen from Drake in practice? How has he looked in practice?
He's looked good in practice. But once again, it's just practice. And you want to get a guy like that, obviously, on the football field. But at this current time, I don't want to go back to that answer, but at this current time, we're just not looking to add any pieces at that spot.
Still 70-30 practice-wise, Chris?
Yeah, still the same.
But he's looked comfortable enough in those. It's obviously different from a game, but he's looked comfortable enough in that setting that you don't feel the need to go bring somebody else in.
I would agree with that. And let me just go back on just to provide clarification. It's 70-30 with the ones. Drake's getting a ton of reps on the show team, and he's approached that process the right way. Like, he doesn't want to know what the defense is doing, doesn't want to know the coverage. He's going out there, going through his reads. And we talk about that all the time. Just because you're on the show team doesn't mean you can't work on your fundamentals and just your progressions. And he's done a good job at that.
So is he serving as like Brock Purdy during the week and Geno Smith and things like that?
Yeah, it's a combination between him and Joe. Those guys, depending on the quarterback that we play.
Bentley and also Caleb Jones in the practice squad. What have you seen from those who want to work with them? And secondly, we saw Caleb Jones did travel with the team. He wasn't elevated. Kind of how is he looking in terms of being ready to play?
Yeah, those guys, it's hard, coming to a team in the middle of the season. They've only been here for a very short time, so it's hard for me to sit here and give you a full evaluation if I'm being very upfront. What I will say is that, myself and Elliot as well, we're always looking for opportunities to get this roster better. And we knew that going into the season, that has to be the goal, is to get the roster better. Let's understand the processes that have been here. What can we improve on? And when you talk about year one, at least for me, that's a huge part of it.
We haven't seen much of Taki, obviously. Is he a player you think could fill in some of the roles that Jerod Mayo has?
Yeah, 100%. I've watched Taki for a while in Cleveland, and he's one of those guys that can line up on the edge. That adjuster role that we talk about, and also play off the ball. So we'll be excited when he gets back.
Jerod, last question. You looked at the development. You talked about the development of Drake a lot over the last, since the draft. When you look at the other players around the NFL, Daniels, Williams, and Bo Nix, and what have you had conversations at all? Do you feel you need to have conversations with Drake about those other rookies and kind of be patient?
Yeah, we have conversations about that, but I think you can go the other way with those examples. It's easy to cherry pick, a guy who just completed 90% of the passes and say, how do you feel about that? There's also the other end of the spectrum where a guy, they're not doing anything, whether it's on IR or they're having struggles. So it's on an individual basis. I will say that he's done a good job staying locked in and preparing as if he is a starter, which I tell all the players to do that. All right. Thanks, guys.